right, we are now joined by our race-winning team of tonight's NASCAR Cup Series race here at Watkins Glen. We're joined by Steve Newmark, president of RFK Racing, and Scott Graves, crew chief of the number 17 RFK Racing Ford. If you have a question for either of these gentlemen, please raise your hand and we will get a microphone to you. Who would like to start us off? We'll start up front with Dustin Albino.
Dustin Albino, NASCAR.com. Take me through your guys' emotions going into the overtime and then ultimately the final lap there.
Yeah. Obviously, when you have a 4.5 second lead and a caution comes out, it's kind of frustration. The way the race is, if you have at the end of them, you get, one caution, you're likely to have more. But I think to me at that point, it was more about, all right, let's just kind of stay calm, keep Chris calm. Don't get too upset about the situation. It is what it is, and we just got to go do our job. And obviously, Chris was able to do that. Did a great job through all three of them. Obviously, the last one got beat up a little bit in turn one, but went and fought his way back and showed the tenacity to get back to the lead and win the race. And that's exactly what we want. And like I say, he did a great job with it.
I'll represent the team side and the other end of the spectrum because the rest of us were not calm, and it was a very it was frustrating. And I think that what was special is to listen to Scott and Chris and Herm, the spotter talk, because you would not have known anything about the situation, that something didn't go their way, but having a 4.5 second lead, then his first restart taking off on a perfect restart, getting a big lead again, same with the second restart. And I think it was one of those things that the emotions, I think, in the whole pit box were just we were all probably just racked with kind of anxiety at that point. It's, if you look at how this year has played out, they've been a model of consistency, but we just haven't gotten that little bit of luck to win. And I would say that they didn't get much luck here either. They just went out there and earned it.
Go to Daniel McFadden.
Thank you. Daniel McFadden, FrenchFresh.com. What does it mean for you guys to be able to get this win at this kind of track in the playoffs when all the focus is on the 16 guys who are going for a championship?
I know. For us as a team, it's. I think we'd be disappointed if we didn't get a win this year. We've had wins the last 2 years. So I know in our mind it was going to be a disappointment if we didn't. So it's pretty big. To get it on a road course. We've won all the other types of tracks with Chris. So this was kind of like the last one for a style of track to win. So getting the road course win in the Cup Series with him is really big. And then. For me personally, I grew up in upstate New York on Cuba Lake, so it's big for me to win here. It's a pretty cool place to be in New York and win a race.
Yeah, I think many of you guys know the guiding principle at RFK is that we exist to win races and compete for championships. And I think their ability to go out there and win a race despite not being in the playoffs and despite having that disappointment is a testament that they just are relentless. And so I think it's a huge lift for our organization because that's where we expect to be at this point in our evolution. And obviously also want to see Brad continue to advance and try to win the championship. But I think that we're thrilled that the 17 came out and got a win, and we think that there'll be a lot of opportunities for them to do that in the next few races as well.
Additional questions?
So the last lap with Chris chasing down SVG, what was going through your mind on the pit box? What were you expecting Chris to do? Because he doesn't seem like a kind of guy that would, typically use his fender. But he kind of did. So what was going through your mind during that last lap?
Yeah, I wasn't sure. I didn't realize he was going to get that close to him again until I heard the spotter say, coming up through the S's, exiting that, I heard the spotter say he's gaining on him. And I was like, oh, okay. I didn't know we were going to get back to him. And then seeing how close he was getting into the bus stop, and then he was able to get to his bumper and do what he had to do. I think, I feel like he did it respectfully, if you can put it that way. I know he's been used up a lot worse this year in a lot of other circumstances. And, I'm proud of him for what he did. I know he learned a lot this year. He learned a lot from Kansas. Obviously Larson ran him down the track and got him sideways to get the win there. And I know he regrets that and lives that in his mind a lot this year. So to to come back in that situation, I mean, rightfully, he had a 4.5-second lead. The race was his, and he went and took it, and that I'm proud of him for that.
Come up front to Bob.
Hey, Bob, you're not allowed to ask about the Chargers.
13? Hey,
Or
you
that.
brought up. I mean, I wasn't even going there. How would you guys describe Chris's demeanor since not making the playoffs? Does he seem any more angry, determined, frustrated, or is he the same guy that he was, pre, let's say, Daytona this year?
Yeah, I mean, I'll let Scott answer too, but I think for any of you who've been around Chris, he is completely even keel, but he's always laser focused on winning. And so I haven't seen any change. I mean, obviously there was disappointment that we didn't make the playoffs, as that was the first goal and we didn't check that box. But he is a relentless competitor, and I think you look at his preparation and nothing has changed. He approaches every race just like he did before, and the goal is the same, is to end up front.
Yeah, I think, I don't know, I kind of look at more as an evolution. I don't think making the chase or not making it, obviously there was that disappointment, and, we all had to get over that. And, I think we got past that. We realized the situation, and it was just, all right, let's just go for wins. And in a way, it kind of actually takes some pressure off. We can sit back and have fun and watch all the other guys struggle, and we can just go have fun and try to win races. But I consider it more of an evolution with Chris. He's really, like, if you look at his stats, like what he's done on restarts this year, we talked with him in the past about restarts, and he's really gone to work on that, and his numbers look much better. I think just it's an evolution of just trying to become the complete race car driver, what it takes to compete at the Cup level. And he's shown a lot of progress this year, and I think it's a really cool thing for all of us at RFK and on the team to work for him. It motivates the guys to be better, and I think we're all heading in the same direction.
Any additional questions? Okay, we'll go to Tino.
Hey, congrats on the win. So Chris Buescher started in 24th. That's the farthest we've seen a winner come from at Watkins Glen. What was your thought process, starting back there, and what you guys would need to do, what you did to make it all up and win the race this season, in this race here?
Yeah, obviously didn't qualify as well as we wanted to, but knew that we had a really good car in practice yesterday. I think we were, if you looked at the averages, we were right up there with the best of them. So knew that we were going to be in good shape. The one thing you see when you get into the chase, like this race hasn't been in the chase in the past, so I think you saw a lot more guys in the chase. Obviously, they had to stay out for stage points, and then obviously that puts them behind you. So it's easy way to get by them. That's all right. I'll take it. It gets us up front. So you saw a lot of that, and then he passed a lot of guys too, just by having a good car. Got up there at the end, and you saw him drive by, the 34, the 1, the 16. Drove by the best cars that were up there. So, I mean, I knew it was going to be a tough day. We talked about it before the race, that we were just going to have to claw for each spot. We kind of talked about what's likely to happen at the stages and hope to be around that top 5 to start of the third stage, and that's where we were. So it all worked out pretty well.
We'll go back to Daniel.
So I have 2 questions. So Chris's car seemed to just come alive with 34 laps to go, and he started picking off guys. What happened around that time that allowed him to just start getting by guys easily when no one else could seem to do that whole race long?
We knew we were better on a longer run. I mean, there was enough. With this tire, you did see some guys start to struggle after 10 or 15 laps, and so I think the 1 and the 16, they had stayed out to start the third stage, so they had laps on tires. We put us in a good spot because we didn't have many laps at all at that point. So, we knew we had a good long run car, and I think that started to show up about that point, where some other guys started to struggle, and then, like I say, that all it played out in our favor, really the way that whole third stage played out.
And Steve, for RFK, this is the first time in 11 years that this team has had more than one car win a race in a season since 2013. I'm just wondering, like, where do you view this team being? Where is it right now compared to just like a few years ago?
No, it's interesting. I wasn't aware of that stat, but there's no doubt that if you go back for a period that we had, sports are cyclical, and we hit a rough patch and weren't achieving what we had aspired to and what our goals were each year. I think what we've really seen, and a lot of credit goes to Brad and how he's come in with his leadership and kind of helped us continue to evolve as a race team. But our goal is for both cars every week to be a threat to win the race. And there's no doubt, if you rewind a few years, we weren't there, but we do feel that we've gotten there in the last year and a half. Obviously, finished 7th and 8th in points last year. The 17 had 3 wins. Brad had some close opportunities, but we didn't get both of them in victory lane last year. You fast forward to this year, and I really think that the statistic that probably tells the story the best for us is that we had the 4th and 5th highest average finishes with the 6 and the 17 this year. So you had 2 of the top 5. And I think what that's a testament to is that at every style of racetrack, both cars have the opportunity to run up front and win races. And obviously you've seen, as Scott mentioned, Chris has evolved as a racer. I mean, he's a threat on short tracks. He's won at Bristol and Richmond, now won on the road course, won on super speedways, won at intermediates. And so we feel like we need to be good and a threat at every type of track in order for us to kind of get to where we want to be. And we're not there yet, right? Because you want both cars in the playoffs and you want both cars in the Final Four. But we feel like we're taking the right steps.
All right, gentlemen, thanks so much for coming in, and congratulations.
Thank you.
All right, there's the checkered flag. Great job, driver.